What if I told you that the absolute fastest way to fail at building wealth is to try and save $1 million? I know, that sounds completely backward, but let me show you what happens to an ordinary person when they try to hit that number. Take a 34-year-old professional in the US. Let's call him Mark. He makes about $82,000 a year. And by all the traditional metrics, he's doing everything right. But late at night, he's staring at this retirement calculator on his phone, and it's telling him he needs $2.4 million just to maintain his perfectly normal, middle-class life when he stops working. He does the quick math in his head. Even if he completely stops eating out, cancels his vacations, and aggressively funnels like every spare dollar into an account, he won't even come close. So he closes the tab, opens Instagram, and just gives up. What Mark is experiencing, it isn't a lack of discipline. It's actually a psychological trap. I mean, the financial industry has accidentally paralyzed millions of Americans by selling this massive seven-figure finish line. Today, we're going to break down exactly why aiming for $1 million is actually destroying your ability to build wealth, and how shifting your focus to just like $100 a month creates this mathematical snowball that permanently deletes your monthly bills one by one. So, to understand why Mark gave up, we have to look at behavioral economics, specifically a concept called hyperbolic discounting. In plain English, it basically means our brains are hardwired to prefer a small reward today over a massive reward 30 years from now. When your goal is to save $1 million, you're asking your brain to delay gratification for 3 decades. Every dollar you save feels like a sacrifice. Every coffee you buy feels like a failure. It's an exhausting, guilt-ridden way to live. And to fix this, we have to stop looking at money as this giant pile of gold you can't touch until your knees hurt, right? The wealthy don't see money that way. They see it as a workforce. Cash just sitting in a checking account is, it's dead money. It does nothing. But capital invested into the broader U.S. economy, that goes to work. So, what happens if we stop trying to buy a retirement 30 years from now and start trying to buy back our current reality just one bill at a time? Let's reframe the math here. Forget the $1 million. What happens if you take just $100 a month and redirect it into a standard, diversified market index fund? The U.S. stock market has historically returned roughly 10% per year before inflation. Even if we adjust for inflation and assume a more conservative return, the engine of compound interest is just relentless. If you invest $100 a month, after about 5 to 6 years, your portfolio has grown to roughly $8,000. Now, no, you cannot retire on a yacht with $8,000. But let's apply the 4% rule, which is a standard guideline used in the financial world to determine a safe withdrawal rate without depleting your principal investment. 4% of $8,000 is $320 a year. That's roughly $26 a month. Think about what just happened there. You didn't just save $8,000. You completely assassinated your streaming bill forever. Your investments are now generating enough passive income to pay for Netflix and Spotify for the rest of your life without you ever working a single hour for it again. You just bought back a tiny fraction of your freedom. And this is where the psychology flips from paralyzing to highly addictive. Because you didn't feel the pain of trying to save $1 million, you just naturally keep that $100 a month going. But right about here is where a very valid panic usually sets in, right? People think, what if the market crashes like it did in 2008 or 2020? This exact fear keeps millions of really smart people completely paralyzed in cash. But when you invest $100 a month continuously, a market crash is not your enemy. Mathematically, it actually works in your favor through a concept called dollar cost averaging. When you automate that transfer, you buy regardless of the news. When the market tanks and everyone else is panicking, your automated $100 swoops in and buys investments on clearance. And you aren't gambling on crypto or trying to pick the next tech giant. You're buying a total stock market index fund. You own a microscopic piece of Apple, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, Visa. Every time someone upgrades their phone or, buys laundry detergent at Target, a fraction of a penny flows back into your portfolio. Fast forward to year 12, your portfolio is sitting at roughly $25,000. Applying that 4% rule, your money is now generating $1,000 a year in completely passive income. That's $83 a month. You have now permanently erased your cell phone bill. Your money clocks in every day and pays Verizon so you don't have to. Because this system is entirely automated, Mark doesn't even notice the money leaving his account anymore. Over the next few years, he gets a promotion, and because he's decoupled his brain from the terror of that $1,000,000 goal, he decides to increase his automated investment from $100 to $300. Fast forward to year 20, and the math does something that feels almost impossible. Through his own contributions and the snowball of compound interest, Mark's portfolio crosses the $150,000 mark. Applying our 4% rule again, his money is now generating $6,000 a year in completely passive income. That's $500 a month. Mark has now completely erased his car payment and his monthly grocery bill. He didn't start a side hustle, he didn't sacrifice his sleep to become a day trader, he didn't live on rice and beans, he just quietly bought his own life back one small increment at a time. The $1,000,000 milestone is, look, it's a great metric for a financial advisor's spreadsheet, but it is a terrible metric for human happiness. Start small, set up simple, automated systems, focus on erasing your first bill, and just let the math do the heavy lifting while you actually enjoy the life you're working so hard to build.